Warning: content and imagery are not censored. Content may be upsetting to some viewers. All video clips and images are compiled from CNN, the Boston Globe, Eyewitnesses, and Massachusetts State Department trial records. April 15th, 2013, 2:40 p.m., Boston, Massachusetts. The skies were clear, the sun was warm. It was a perfect day for the oldest marathon tradition in the world. 23,336 runners, both domestic and international, came together to compete in the 26.2-mile race from Hopkinton to Copley Square. The eyes of the nation and the world were watching Boston that day. It was the perfect target. At 2:49 p.m., several yards before the finish line of the Boston Marathon, in front of a Marathon sports store, a pressure cooker bomb, concealed inside of a black backpack and filled with shrapnel and metal ball bearings, was detonated. The blast killed one spectator, Crystal Campbell, and injured hundreds of others. Then, several seconds later, a second explosion. Another concealed backpack bomb, also filled with a pressure cooker and concealed shrapnel, was detonated at the entryway to the Forum restaurant, 1 block down the street from the first blast. The second explosion killed 2 other spectators, Lindsay Liu and Martin Richard, and injured another several hundred people in the surrounding area. Panic ensued as people tried to flee the streets and the scene of the attacks, fearing more explosions.
Shortly after 5 p.m. yesterday, FBI Special Agent in Charge Richard Delorier releases these images of the 2 men they believe are suspects behind the Boston Marathon bombings.
We have 2 new pictures that we want to show you.
Just hours later, a second photo is circulated online of suspect number 2 walking away from the bombings.
No evidence surfaced for 2 full days, and Massachusetts hung in a state of suspense, despite the widespread circulation of the images of the 2 suspects. Then, a distress call arose from Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
As we're on the air at 11 p.m., we learn a 26-year-old police officer from MIT has been shot and killed. Moments later, Boston police begin a high-speed chase for 2 males after receiving reports of an armed carjacking. According to authorities, the carjacking suspects begin throwing explosives from the car as police chase them from Cambridge to Watertown.
As the brothers stole their new getaway car, they confessed to the unnamed witness, "Did you hear about the Boston explosion? I did that." They then hijacked the witness's car at gunpoint and escaped west to Watertown. The shootout in Watertown was the only thing local news channels were showing over and over again, the footage submitted by a concerned citizen and eyewitness.
Oh my God.
By 3:45 in the morning, Massachusetts State Police warn Watertown residents to stay in their homes, lock their doors, as police begin searching door to door.
Tamerlan Tsarnaev, one of 2 suspects in the bombing, had been shot several times during the previous night's shootout on the streets of Watertown. After being run over by his own brother in the getaway car, he died right there in the street that night. Police records pronounce his death at 1:35 in the morning. This was the first breath of relief for many Massachusetts residents. His brother, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the second suspect, escaped that night. Dzhokhar did not come away unscathed, however. He had also suffered several bullet wounds during the shootout. The entirety of Watertown was placed on a lockdown as door-to-door searches began by local police, the FBI, and SWAT teams, looking for the missing Tsarnaev brother and the last suspect of the marathon bombing.
A little after 5 a.m., as day breaks, the city of Boston begins moving into a lockdown. suspending mass transit and asking businesses to remain closed.
It is important that folks remain indoors, keep the doors locked, and not open the door.
I myself, a resident of Plymouth County, Massachusetts, remember sitting at home, watching the live feeds out of Watertown on CNN, anxiously with my family, waiting for updates. We had the feed on in every room of our house, just in case. And after 12 long hours of searching, finally a report came through.
Is that guns?
But less than an hour after the lockdown is lifted, shots are fired in Watertown. Police scramble to the scene.
I just heard what sounded like multiple assault rifle shots to me.
Thanks to a local resident spotting movement in his backyard during the lockdown, Dzhokhar had been found hiding in a covered-up boat in Watertown. Another shootout ensued as authorities tried to detain him from the man's backyard.
Suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev covered in blood as he was being arrested by police. CNN's Brian Todd has the behind-the-scenes photo for us. Brian, what is going on here? Why are these photos now being released?
Wolf, these photos are jarring. First, we have to say this. Incredible photos released by a sergeant with the Massachusetts State Police named Sean Murphy. He is a tactical photographer.
Hundreds of law enforcement surround the suspected bomber. And at 8:45, police in Watertown, Massachusetts break out in cheers, followed by crowds coming to the streets to celebrate.
USA! 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 USA!
Proud and feeling much safer and just happy.
Dzhokhar confessed that he and his brother, acting independently from any terrorist organization, self-radicalized and learned how to make the bombs online. As radical Islamic extremists from Russia, they despised American culture and wanted to defend Islam from the United States. Their goal was to divide the population with their fear-inducing weapons of mass destruction. What resulted, however, was the complete opposite. The attacks and the shootings did not result in a division of culture. They instead unified Massachusetts under a common cause. The Boston Strong movement, established just days after the attack, served not only as a fundraising system for the victims of the bombings, but as a crucial social bonding agent in the wake of such terrible tragedies. The movement gave a voice to the survivors, hope and courage to the people of Boston, and a strong sense of kinship to the entire state. Every survivor who testified, citizen who donated, and the countless members of the community who gave time, money, and resources to the families of the lost and injured stood as a candle shining through the darkness the brothers shed over Boston that day. They may have wanted to wreak permanent havoc, but Boston is a shining example that through companionship and charity, terrorists sometimes achieve the exact opposite of their intended goals. And the Boston Marathon remains a symbol of the strength, compassion, and capabilities of what a community can accomplish when they choose to be strengthened through adversity, not weakened by it.
For many, the Boston Marathon is a milestone.
So proud of you. Oh, so proud.
For Rebecca Gregory, it's a turning point. This morning, posting this picture on Facebook, "This is the day I take my life back." After losing a leg in the bombing, she learned to walk again, then to run. And today, that photo finish, falling to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion.
Whatever is going on in your life, just don't give up, because the finish line is a great place to be.
Today, about resilience. But tomorrow, prosecutors begin their effort to convince jurors to sentence Dzhokhar Tsarnaev to death, something a growing number of his victims oppose. Patrick Downs and his wife Jessica Kensky, who each lost a leg, telling the Boston Globe, "We must overcome the impulse for vengeance." The Richard family saying it could bring years of appeals and prolong reliving the most painful day of our lives.
I never stayed alone, not one night. I had tons of support, family, friends. It meant the world. I mean, you knew people were there. I can't thank the people of America enough. The people of America I can't thank enough, because they're the ones that really got me through it. A 75-year-old lady writing she wished she could donate more to your site. And she's on a fixed income, you know. It's amazing. It's really mind-boggling. There's so much good. There is so much good out there versus, this evil.
Through community support, the Tsarnaev brothers failed in their mission, and because of this, we will always remain Boston strong.